Welcome to the SumoBot CAD tutorial number 2. In this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to use the sub-assemblies that we created in the first tutorial to create what's called a master assembly. In this specific tutorial, I'm going to be following this as kind of my guideline. However, I'm going to be simplifying the gear train a bit. I'm just going to start with the motor and motor mount and the 12-tooth gear, and we are not going to use this intermediate gear stage. So really, this motor is going to be attached, that gear is going to be attached or driving this gear and wheel directly without an intermediate stage. I will, in another tutorial, show how to create more complex gear trains. The reason that we do this, by the way, creating a master assembly and sub-assemblies, it's going to make the process overall much simpler. There's going to be more well-defined steps that we're going to be going through, and you'll see in the end it's also going to save us a lot of time. Okay, so we're going to create a new assembly. Sub-assemblies and master assemblies are basically the same thing. And the thing that we're going to start with is by thinking about which part should we put down first. And the reason that that's important is the first part that you put down, as I mentioned in the first tutorial, is the one that's going to be fixed in space. And so I'm going to choose the plywood body as the thing that's going to be fixed. It won't move. Everything else is going to move to it. Okay, so there we go. That's the plywood body. I'm going to insert components. These things are all listed here. When I click insert component, I don't have to browse for them because I left those files open. And I'm going to find it's not here. I want to do the motor and motor mount sub-assembly. I'm going to start off by putting that on. So I'm going to place it somewhere. It's just floating in space right now, and then I'm going to mate it so that it's constrained or fixed to the top of that plywood body. So I selected the bottom face of the motor mount, the top face of the plywood, check mark. Those things, this is now stuck to the piece of plywood. You can see from the side, I can't drag it off of the plywood, but I can drag it left and right. Okay, but it's stuck to that piece of wood. I could constrain it further if I would like. I'm going to leave it right there for now. Okay, next, I actually wanted to model how we can make changes to parts that are in an assembly like this without going back to the individual part file. So it looks like if I were to place my motor somewhere here, it'd be nice for me to have a hole that goes through this plywood somewhere right around here. And so let's do that. Here's how you do it. So we're going to be editing a component. We can click on the plywood and then click Edit Component. Or alternatively, you can find the plywood, that part, on the Feature Manager design tree and then click Edit Component. It says we have to save it first before we can do this. So I'm going to rebuild and save. I'm going to call this Master Assembly 2. There we go. Now, again, I'm clicking this. I'm going to undo the edit component. Click on the plywood, click Edit Component. Now, once we've done that, you'll notice that there are tools. The same toolbar shows up, Features and Sketch, that we had when we were creating a part. So I'm going to start off by clicking Extruded Cut under the Features toolbar. I'm going to select the top face. I'm going to draw a rectangle. The type of cut that we're going to be doing is called a dado cut, something that I can do for you on the table saw, or I can show you how to do. And it'll be basically a square or rectangular cut that goes along the length of the top of the plywood. Okay, so I just drew the rectangle, and then let's put some dimensions. The axle that I chose to use that fits well with the gears is 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to type in 1/8 inch. It's going to make that ditch or that cut 1/8 of an inch wide. I'm also going to place this here, and notice that I use the assembly to help myself kind of figure out where I wanted to place that. And this is telling me, right now it's about 2 inches away. I actually think I might want to move it a little bit further away from the edge, so I'm going to call it 2.5 inches. Check mark. All right. I'm still in Sketch, so I'm going to click Exit Sketch, and it's going to ask me in the Cut Extrude feature, it's going to ask me how deep I want the cut. I want the cut to be 1/8 of an inch. It's going to fit 1/8 of an inch axle. Check mark, and there we go. All right, and part of the reason why I'm showing you how to do this in the part itself, or in the assembly itself, is sometimes it's helpful to see how things fit together before you decide where that cut should go. Now, if we were to go back to the plywood base, that actual part that I made, the part file itself also now has this change. It has this cut in it. Okay, I'm going to get out of Edit Components. Next, I'm going to insert an axle. So Insert Components, Browse. This is my list of parts. I have a 10-inch long axle, 1/8 inch diameter. I'll place it in here. Now, mating this axle to that ditch or that cut is a little tricky. So here's how to do it. Click Mate. Click the face of the axle. You're really clicking on the cylinder of the axle. And I'm going to first click on that face that's in the very bottom of that ditch. There we go. Now, when I do that, it's choosing a tangent mate, which means that the circle of the cylinder, the circular part of the cylinder, is going to have a line that is tangent to that plane right there. Now, you'll notice there's actually two different ways that this mate can work. If I hit Flip Mate Alignment here, you can see that that now moved it so that the top of the circle is tangent to that plane. If I hit Flip Mate Alignment again, let's try it again, now the bottom of that circle is tangent to that plane. The same buttons, by the way, are over here for mate alignment, aligned or anti-aligned. So sometimes when you mate something, if it doesn't look like you want, hitting that mate alignment button will help you. All right, click check mark. Now that's constrained how I want it vertically up and down, but I also want it constrained like this. So I'm going to click on the cylinder, click on that face, and they are now lined up. All right, again, if I hit the Flip Mate Alignment button, there's two ways for that mate to work. This is the one I want, where it's stuck in that ditch. Okay, another trick for mating something like this, if you notice, this rod is not really centered in that piece of plywood, and one way of doing that is by mating, but using what's called an offset mate. So I'm going to select this face, and the default is to have them coincident, touching. But if I wanted to, I can set an offset distance that I can type in. In this case, the width of the body is 6 inches. The width of the whole rod is 10 inches. So there's 4 inches that are going to be sticking out total on both sides. I want 2 inches sticking out on either of the sides. That's going to make that centered. Okay, next, I'm going to insert another component. This time I'm going to insert the 40-tooth gear and the wheel together. So insert components, browse. Let's see, and what did I call that? Wheel gear subassembly 2, I believe. Open. Yep, that's what I wanted. I'm going to place that in there. Okay, one of the first things that I want to do, I'm going to mate this cylinder with that cylinder. It's going to make that lined up. And then let's see if I hit the flip mate alignment. Yep, that's what I want. Flip mate alignment made that so that the gear is facing the direction I want. So this is now constrained on that cylinder. You can slide back and forth, but it can't come off. All right. Don't need to mate it here, although I could if I wanted. Actually, let's do, probably don't, in real life, I don't want this gear actually touching this plane, but I want them to be pretty close. So I'm going to coincident mate, but let's set an offset distance of, how about 1/8 of an inch again? Check mark. All right, there we go. Now, if I wanted to, I could mate this gear and that gear together. However, if I'm thinking through this in real life, the way that I would actually fasten this would be that I would place this gear up next to that gear, and then screw this down using those two holes. So I'm just going to place it in general. I'm going to look at it from the side. Let's see it this, I'm going to make that wheel, I'm going to make, I'm going to hide it for just a minute so you can't see it. I'm going to move this so that those gears look like they're touching. All right, that looks pretty good. Let's unhide that wheel wherever we put that. I'm losing, oh, there we go. There's the wheel. It's called the 2.5-inch wheel. I'm going to show components. There's the wheel again. And this is basically placed where I would want it to be. Okay, I'm going to finish this up. This is the gear train. I'm going to go through quickly and add another wheel on the front here and another axle. I'm going to do that quickly so that I can get this done in less than 15 minutes. So here we go. I'm going to edit, component, editing this part, sketch, a rectangle, there to there, smart dimension it. Let's go 1/8 of an inch again. Let's make this, how about just 2 inches from the end? Check mark, exit sketch. Well, I meant to start by calling that an extruded cut. So let's see if it'll do it. Extruded cut. Bummer. All right, let me try it again. Edit component, extrude cut. That's the plane I want. Here's the sketch. Just redraw over the top of that. Looks pretty good. Exit sketch, 1/8 of an inch deep, check mark. There we go, that's the cut. And delete this sketch that's floating in space there. No, I don't. Okay, let's insert a done editing component. I'm going to insert the 10-inch axle. It's made it. Put it from the side, that looks good. It's made it to this edge. Get it from the side, looks good. Mate this and this, offset by 2 inches. All right, and then I'm going to put a wheel on here without any gears. The back side is going to be driven by motors. The front side will just have wheels that are moving. Insert components, browse. Call this the. So I have a smaller wheel here that I'm going to place. Mate. Let's space this out by 1/8 of an inch. All right. So this is basically 1/2 of the chassis of my Sumo bot. In the next tutorial, I'm going to show you a few steps that you can use to basically copy and paste what you've done on one side and create a mirror image on the other side. So thank you for watching part 2 of the Sumo bot tutorial.